Laurence Ferrari, one of the most recognizable faces in French journalism, has built a career defined by resilience, grace, and ambition. From her early reporting days at AFP to anchoring the prestigious 8 p.m. news on TF1, she has long commanded the screen with poise. But behind the spotlight, Laurence carries a grief so personal and deep that even the brightest stage lights can't erase its shadow. Born on July 5, 1966, in Aix-les-Bains, France, Laurence grew up in a politically engaged household. Her father, Laurence Ferrari, was a respected mayor and parliamentary deputy. From an early age, expectations loomed large. Yet, if asked to name the greatest sorrow in her life, Laurence wouldn't hesitate. It was the loss of her mother in 2005 after a silent, torturous battle with depression. Her mother, a retired schoolteacher, was Laurence's compass. She nurtured not only her daughter's passion for knowledge, but also her love for music and the arts. Laurence fondly recalls afternoons at the family piano, her mother gently correcting her fingering or smiling quietly as classical melodies filled the living room. These weren't just memories, they were emotional anchors, fragments of a life that taught her discipline, creativity, and empathy. So when the call came from the hospital during a busy workday at TF1, Laurence was unprepared. She was moments from going live. Her father's trembling voice on the other end of the phone confirmed her worst fear. She froze, tears silently streaming down her face in the dressing room, her voice locked in shock. It wasn't just a personal loss. It was the emotional earthquake that rocked the foundation beneath a career that was rapidly accelerating. Having just stepped into the primetime anchor role once held by Patrick Poivre d'Arvor in 2008, Laurence was under immense pressure to succeed in a cutthroat environment. But grief doesn't care about ratings. There were nights she sat alone in her Paris apartment, staring out at the quiet city, wishing she could hear her mother's soft encouragement one more time. "I can face millions of viewers," she once confided to a colleague, "but I can't face the silence she left behind." What haunted her most weren't just the memories, but the moments left unsaid. Laurence admits she was never one to express emotions easily. Her mother never got to hear just how much she meant to her. It's a regret that has lingered, a silent ache she carries into every stage of her life. Even as she celebrated career triumphs and built a beautiful family, that void remained, tucked beneath the polished professionalism. Being the eldest of 3 sisters only added to the weight. After their mother's death, Laurence felt she had to be the strong one, the emotional anchor for her grieving family. But who was anchoring her? In rare private moments, she would let herself cry, like that time she returned to Aix-les-Bains and pulled over near her childhood home, sobbing quietly behind the wheel. It wasn't the house she missed. It was her mother, her safe place. This grief never made it on screen. The public saw the composed journalist, the elegant anchor, but behind every smile on camera was a daughter still mourning, still searching for her mother's voice. Laurence's love life has been equally complex. Her story is one of ambition, passion, heartbreak, and second chances. As much as she embodies strength and intellect, she's also a woman deeply shaped by vulnerability and love. And while the world applauded her successes, few knew the private battles she fought with equal tenacity. Laurence Ferrari, The Price of Grace in the Spotlight, Part 2. Laurence Ferrari's romantic life has never been a tabloid circus. Yet the meaningful relationships she's had have shaped not only her view of love, but also her understanding of resilience. Her first great love was fellow journalist Thomas Hughes. They met while both were rising stars in the French media world, young, passionate, and determined to make a mark. Their chemistry was immediate. By 1993, they were married in an intimate ceremony in Paris, surrounded by close friends and family. Laurence once described standing next to Thomas that day as the one moment where everything felt right. Love, ambition, the promise of something lasting. For many years, they were the golden couple of French journalism. Together, they built a life and a family, raising 2 children while navigating high-profile careers. But behind closed doors, as the pressures of public life mounted and schedules pulled them in different directions, the cracks began to show. By 2007, after nearly 14 years of marriage, Laurence and Thomas divorced, a decision that deeply affected her, though she rarely spoke of it publicly. The real heartbreak came years later when their daughter Laetitia was hospitalized due to a serious illness. Laurence, always the composed figure on screen, found herself sitting beside her child's hospital bed, holding her hand, feeling helpless and overwhelmed. She later admitted to close friends that those nights, alone, exhausted, and frightened, were the darkest of her life. "You can survive anything," she said once, "except watching your child suffer without being able to fix it." Professionally, Laurence faced another painful blow in 2012 when she left her anchor role at TF1's 8 p.m. evening news, a post she had held since replacing the iconic Patrick Poivre d'Arvor in 2008. Though framed as a career move, the truth, as she later admitted, was more complicated. "I didn't want to leave," she confessed, "but the network was changing and the pressure to perform in an ultra-competitive environment became unbearable." The day she signed her final contract termination, she cried in her office, not for the loss of a job, but for the loss of the identity she had built at TF1 over nearly a decade. She would later find new ground at Canal Plus and eventually at C News, but she never forgot that chapter. Leaving TF1 wasn't just a professional transition. It was the end of an era, the end of the woman I had once been, she told Le Parisien in 2019. These personal and professional tragedies, losing her mother, her marriage, her dream job, didn't break Laurence. Instead, they shaped her into someone wiser, more introspective. "Every time I thought I couldn't keep going," she said, "I did. But the pain? It never really leaves you. You just learn to walk with it." In 2024, at 58 years old, Laurence looks back at a career spanning almost 4 decades, beginning at AFP, rising through Europe 1, and becoming a household name at TF1. When asked what she's most proud of, it's not the ratings or accolades. "I'm proud I made people feel something," she said. "News isn't just facts, it's about humanity, connection. I didn't just want to read the headlines, I wanted the viewer to feel like I was speaking directly to them." She's especially proud of her coverage of historic events: the 2007 French presidential election, the Charlie Hebdo attacks in 2015, and the 2012 London Olympics. "After every special broadcast, I felt like I fulfilled a mission. No award can compare to that feeling." Still, she doesn't shy away from admitting her failures. "I made the mistake of letting my personal life seep into the newsroom," she said, referencing her first months at TF1. "I had just lost my mother. I was going through a divorce. I wasn't strong enough to hide it. There were days I walked into the studio with red, swollen eyes. I tried to mask it, but it showed." She received hundreds of letters from viewers offering support, thanking her for her vulnerability. But for Laurence, it was a painful reminder that even seasoned professionals have limits. "It felt like I failed at what I had always prided myself on: control." Reflecting on her departure from TF1, she remains candid. "I didn't want to go, but the decisions were made above me, and the internal competition didn't leave much room for loyalty." Transitioning to Télé and then C News, she admits, felt like a demotion in the public eye. "People saw it as a step down, and maybe it was, but it was also a chance to rebuild." At 58, Laurence Ferrari has come to understand that failure isn't the end. It's simply another door opening. Hosting Punchline on C News has given her a new kind of freedom, a space to speak openly, express her personality, and engage with current issues on her own terms. She often reflects on how journalism has changed. "When I started," she said in an interview, "I believed journalism was about uncovering truth. But now, With social media and misinformation everywhere, sometimes I feel like just another voice drowned in the chaos. Her voice may be just one among many, but it's a voice grounded in decades of integrity. "I've managed to stay true to my ethics," she admitted, "even if I couldn't change the system as much as I hoped." At this point in her life, she no longer dreams of changing the world. Instead, her focus is simple: do good work and inspire the next generation of journalists. But behind the poised anchorwoman, millions recognize lies a woman with unspoken fears and silent scars. Parts of her life she rarely shares, even with those closest to her. One of her deepest secrets: a constant fear of failure. Despite decades of success, Laurence once confided to a close friend that she's often plagued by the thought that one day the public might turn on her. "There are nights I just can't sleep," she admitted, "wondering if tomorrow I'll wake up to a headline I can't survive." She never voices these anxieties to her children or her partner. She carries them alone, protecting her loved ones from the emotional weight of her fame. Her first marriage to Thomas Hughes was, for a time, everything she dreamed of. They were the golden couple of French media, co-hosting Sept à Huit on TF1, raising two children, Baptiste and Laetitia, and balancing careers that placed them in the national spotlight. Their chemistry was as palpable on screen as it was at home. Laurence once said, "He was my partner in every sense. We built a life. We built a family. I thought we could survive anything." But as Laurence's career soared, especially after taking the reins of TF1's 8 p.m. news, their relationship quietly began to unravel. The demands of live television, endless shoots, and the pressure of public life started to take a toll. Laurence admitted there were nights she came home, exhausted and needing comfort, only to find Thomas absorbed in his own world. "I just wanted a hug," she said. "Someone to talk to, but the distance between us had already set in." In 2007, they decided to part ways, not in anger, but with mutual respect. "We weren't enemies," Laurence said. "We were just two people who couldn't find the space to grow together anymore." They remained friends and co-parents, doing their best to shield their children from the fallout of their divorce. For a while after the separation, Laurence didn't seek out new relationships. She focused on her career, her children, and healing the parts of herself she had neglected for too long. Then came Renaud Capuçon. Their paths crossed in 2010 at a cultural gala in Paris. Laurence was hosting, Renaud, the world-renowned violinist, was performing. "When I heard him play," Laurence once said, "I felt something melt inside me. There was something so pure in his music, it broke through all the walls I had built." After the event, they talked. One conversation turned into another, and not long after, love followed. In 2012, they welcomed their daughter, Elliot, a bright, unexpected light in Laurence's life. "She changed everything," Laurence shared. "She made me softer, more present, less obsessed with chasing perfection." Life with Renaud was different, calmer, gentler. There were no on-set arguments or fights over production schedules. Instead, there were weekend getaways to the French countryside, quiet mornings, and long dinners filled with laughter and music. Laurence said Renaud brought her a kind of peace she didn't know she needed. But even this love wasn't without its challenges. Renaud's global career meant he was often on tour, sometimes for weeks at a time. And Laurence, despite her strength, sometimes found herself overcome by loneliness. "There was a night," she recalled, "I was home alone, listening to one of his records, and I just started to cry. I missed him so much, it physically hurt." Still, she never doubted their connection. "Love," she said, "isn't about constant presence. It's about trust, and knowing that even when he's far away, I am never alone." Their relationship became a sanctuary for both of them, a place where art met emotion, where two different worlds found harmony. And in the quiet between the music and the headlines, Laurence finally found balance. Love and marriage for Laurence Ferrari have been a profound emotional journey. From her first romance with Thomas Hughes to a mature, anchored relationship with Renaud Capuçon. Despite the hardships, she's made her family's happiness her top priority, seeing it as the most vital part of her life. Laurence's life hasn't just been filled with glorious TV moments, it's also woven with deep tragedies that have left lasting marks on her soul. Beyond the heartbreak of losing her mother, she's faced countless trials. From relentless work pressure to intensely personal wounds, she often struggled to share. L'un des épisodes les plus sombres de la vie de Laurence Ferrari survient en 2010, au moment même où elle franchit un cap décisif dans sa carrière, celui de présenter le journal de 20 heures sur TF1, poste emblématique du paysage audiovisuel français. Alors qu'elle s'installe à cette place convoitée, la presse à scandale s'acharne. Des tabloïds lancent une rumeur explosive. Elle aurait eu une liaison avec une figure politique de premier plan. Face à cette avalanche de ragots, Laurence choisit la dignité du silence tout en démentant fermement les accusations par voie légale. Elle engage une procédure judiciaire et sort victorieuse de cette épreuve. La justice lui donne raison et elle obtient une indemnisation. Mais la victoire judiciaire ne suffit pas à effacer les blessures invisibles. Il y a eu des jours où je n'osais plus sortir de chez moi, confiera-t-elle plus tard. Je pleurais enfermée dans la salle de bain, submergée par un sentiment d'impuissance absolue. Cette tempête médiatique marque un tournant. Elle comprend alors que sa notoriété, aussi brillante soit-elle, est aussi une exposition permanente à la cruauté du regard public. Dès lors, elle érige des murs protecteurs autour de sa vie privée, elle devient plus prudente, plus discrète, presque secrète. Ce n'est pas une fuite, mais un mécanisme de survie, mais le destin, parfois cruel dans son insistance, n'en avait pas terminé avec elle. En 2015, alors que Laurence pensait avoir déjà affronté les pires tempêtes médiatiques, un drame intime vient bouleverser son existence de mère. Ce jour-là, elle est en plein tournage, concentrée, absorbée par son travail, lorsque son téléphone sonne avec insistance. À l'autre bout du fil, l'école de sa fille, Laetitia. La voix est tremblante, la nouvelle terrible. Le véhicule dans lequel se trouvait Laetitia, adolescente, à l'époque, a été percuté de plein fouet par un camion. Le temps se fige. Les mots se brouillent. Le monde s'écroule. Pendant quelques instants, Laurence ne sait plus respirer, ne sait plus si elle est journaliste, femme, mère. Elle est simplement cette silhouette immobile face à la peur viscérale de perdre l'essentiel. Heureusement, Laetitia s'en sort avec de légères blessures physiques, mais les conséquences, elles, sont bien plus insidieuses. La plaie invisible s'ouvre dans le cœur de Laurence, et elle ne se refermera pas si vite. Pendant des mois, elle vit en état d'alerte permanent. Chaque crissement de frein, chaque sirène d'ambulance, chaque bruit métallique est un rappel brutal de ce qui aurait pu être. J'entendais une ambulance et je figeais sur place, racontera-t-elle plus tard. Je vivais dans la terreur que tout puisse basculer à nouveau. Cette angoisse quotidienne, irrationnelle et pourtant bien réelle, s'ajoute aux blessures déjà anciennes, celles de l'humiliation publique, de l'exposition médiatique, des attaques personnelles, 2 coups portés à des endroits différents, l'un à l'image, l'autre au cœur, mais tous deux d'une violence extrême, et pourtant, Laurence tient, mieux, elle se transforme. Ces épreuves, loin de la briser, l'obligent à revoir ses priorités, à redéfinir ses frontières, à poser des limites claires entre ce qu'elle offre au monde et ce qu'elle garde pour elle. Elle devient plus silencieuse, plus sélective, moins soucieuse de plaire et plus déterminée à protéger sa paix intérieure. Elle ne baisse jamais la garde, non par paranoïa, mais parce qu'elle a appris, dans la douleur, que chaque moment de calme est un territoire conquis sur le chaos, que chaque geste anodin, un dîner en famille, un trajet en voiture, un sourire de sa fille, est une victoire silencieuse contre l'angoisse. Chaque cicatrice raconte une survie et Laurence en porte plusieurs. Aujourd'hui encore, elle veille farouchement sur son intimité, non pas par distance ni par froideur, mais parce qu'elle sait que certains pans de sa vie doivent rester à l'abri, loin des caméras, des commentaires et des jugements. Ce qu'elle protège désormais n'est pas une image, mais un équilibre, une paix fragile mais essentielle. Une paix qu'elle chérit comme on serre contre soi ce qu'on a failli perdre,